With global temperatures rising and environmental threats mounting, Indigenous communities say they have had enough of being sidelined in climate talks. Thousands of leaders from across the world gathered in Brazil, not just to protest, but to push for a bigger role in shaping climate policy ahead of a major UN summit. They want their traditional knowledge about environment to no longer be overlooked. But will the world pay heed to their voices? Our next report gets you the details.
Thousands of indigenous leaders from across the globe had gathered in Brazil's capital, Brasília. Wearing brightly colored traditional dress and body paint, they are demanding only one thing: a louder voice in the fight against climate change. Brazil is set to host the United Nations COP30 climate conference this November in the Amazonian city of Belem. And for indigenous communities who live on the front lines of environmental destruction, this is their moment to be heard. They are pushing for equal representation in global climate negotiations and say their traditional knowledge can no longer be overlooked.
We are going to let the world and the government know that us Indigenous people of the world, we're still here and we're not going nowhere.
From the Pacific Islands to the Amazon, indigenous people say they are among the most vulnerable to the climate crisis, facing rising seas, receding rivers, and escalating wildfires. They say their lives are under threat. In Brazil alone, reports suggest nearly 18 million hectares of the Amazon rainforest were destroyed by fire last year, fueled by one of the worst droughts in the country on record. With the damage mounting, indigenous leaders say symbolic inclusion is no longer enough. They want a true seat at the table, with the same decision-making power as national leaders.
Ahead of the COP30 that will be happening here, there has been a bigger call to have indigenous representation and participation in this process. And the government has announced a leadership circle in which indigenous leaders and representation will be there. But we want to see it actioned. We want to see how this can be done tangibly.
The Brazilian government has announced plans to form a leadership circle of indigenous representatives for COP30. But advocates say that's only a first step. They're calling for the inclusion of spiritual and traditional leaders, particularly those from remote communities, who they say carry a deeper, more grounded understanding of environmental realities.
For me, it would be important that the COP30 invites the spiritual chiefs, the main leaders, and not the leaders who are in the city, because the leaders who are there, in the village, know how serious the climate issue is.
The week-long rally in Brasília, held under the banner "We Are the Answer," has seen marches to government buildings, demands for action in Congress, and a call to the world. Indigenous communities aren't just facing climate disaster, they're holding the knowledge to fight it. Now, with the COP30 set in the heart of the Amazon, they're asking, will the world finally listen to them?
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Bluntly, Iran, maybe Russia too.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.